I went from this pile of rags that were the stripes on Old Glory to replacing all of them to make it look like this. That's what we're going to do today. That's what I'm going to show you, the process that I went through to get here. So it's not impossible to replace the stripes on a flag. It's not impossible to repair a flag. But it is very, very time consuming. The videos that I watched didn't really give me step by step. They jumped around, and I'm going to attempt to not do that. I'm trying to make the sequence look manageable so that if you wanted to repair a flag, you could do it. And I'm going to tell you all the times, the time that you spent, rather, is going to be a lot. Taking the razor right here just to remove the canvas from the top of these white stripes, it probably took me 10 minutes in real time. You have to be careful. You have to pull. There's double stitching. You know, but I'm not trying to scare you away from it. I'm just telling you it's going to take you a while. And I did want to give up. I actually thought, and I went online and I said, maybe I could just buy her a new flag instead of replacing these stripes, because this is too much. This is too much for me. But I give up, and then I regroup, and I came back, and I got the job done. So after assessing the flag, taking it, laying it down, seeing where it's all torn, I realized I needed to start taking out all of the white sections. I did that, and then I left the sections that were next to the blue where the stars are intact, because I wanted to make sure I could reorient myself when I got over there. Taking all the threads off very carefully so there's no loose threads behind. It wore my fingertips down, but it was worth it, because I want to make sure that I put my stripes back the way that they came off. I reorient myself by spreading out the flag the way that it came off, and then I measure the stripes, make sure I have the right measurement, which is 6.5 inches, and then take a look at the seams, which I believe are flat felt seams. I don't have a lot of experience with that, so I know I've got to either practice or come up with another idea. After a while, flipping the fabric all over the place, flipping the flag all over the place, trying to reorient myself, I renamed it the octopus, because it was fabric wound around each other, all those stripes. I determined 6.5 inches was the stripe I needed to cut. I needed to use my grippy ruler, which is a quilt ruler that has some raised texture to the bottom of it that helps to grip the fabric, because this ripstop fabric is slippery. Using the rotary cutter helped me to get them as straight as possible. Now, taking the fabric and unrolling 3.5 yards of fabric and trying to match it all up so that I can cut nice strips in one fell swoop, I needed to pin the ends in order to hold the slippery fabric so that I could roll it and cut it, like I said, as straight as possible, because I had to mark 6.5 inch increments across, and one side was folded, which I intended to cut in half at the end. And this was the only piece of fabric left at Joann Fabrics. Where I live, their store is closing, and so I had to do this right because I couldn't go back to the store to get more fabric. Folding it on itself with the raw edges on the top, a folded edge out to the left was the best plan I could come up with for preparing for cutting. Now to measure the 6.5-inch strips after doing all that folding. I did some cutting already, and I'm on my last strip. I decided to use the rotary cutter and the scissors. I did video it, but it wasn't the most flattering pose. So I decided to just show you simply just cut down with the scissors this on the chalk line that comes off, and then our 6 stripes are ready to be placed in the flag. So excited that I'm done cutting that slippery fabric. I had to keep putting the ruler back on to make sure that I was cutting it straight because it was moving on me. But eventually I got that done. Now I go back to spreading out the octopus to reorient myself and look at how the stitching is and how I'm going to do it, because I really don't want to do flat felt seams, but I want it to be nice and strong. So I did come up with another plan that worked fantastic. So I went over to my serger and I put, it's hard to say if they were right sides together. I made sure that the top of the flag was where all of the double stitching was, and then the back side of the flag, it was okay if the serging showed. Now I'll show you that in a minute. You see that up in the top left hand corner? That's the serging, what it looks like from the back side. Now I took the two pieces together and I just serged right down to the end, and then, so this is what I'm trying to say. This I serged, and this I serged, and I did the double stitching on. Now, if this was the flag, I would be in trouble because I can't lay this flat now and do double stitching. The only thing I can do, and I did do it on a couple, is I turned it again like this, which is probably giving it a stronger seam. And then I could double stitch here. But because this flag was so time consuming, what I ended up doing was I serged. Let's see, how did I do this one? I did it like this. The white was on top of the red for this particular part. You know, like I said, you have to look at all of them and see where it's going to go. Serged, turned it over, and then this red was over here, and I flipped it over there, and then I pressed it, and then like moved the red over a little bit more so that it catches when you do the top stitching, it catches the serging. And then just do 2 stripes. So if I was going to do the next one, and it would be red, for my serger, I would, let's see, I have to test it out to see. I'd have to do this. I'd put the red on top, and then I'd serge, and then I'd flip it over, and then press, and then do my double stitching on here. So that way, this is the front of the flag, and then the back would only have the serging on the back. That's the best way I can explain it. It was really important to make sure you orient yourself when you're serging if you're going to use this method, because you want that serging part to be in the back, and it's almost like that's the inside and the top stitching is the outside. The next thing I did was take the stitching out of the section that was holding the blue to the white with the stars on it. Long process. This is how I did the process. 1 row, a little ways, and then 1 row, than the other row of little ways until I ended up removing it from the white section. And then we moved on to replacing the white section to the blue. I needed to keep that section on because I wanted to make sure that I was staying with putting it back the same way that I took it off. Now I'm working with crisp, brand new fabric over here, and then I'm working with fabric that's been whipping in the wind, and it's stretched and weathered. So I'm marrying the two together, and you can't expect to be totally perfect, but you do your best. See, like this, I mean. Trying not to get wrinkles in it. I don't want puckers and wrinkles. Trying my hardest, but I feel a pucker coming on because it is stretched. Let's take a look at the back. Okay, and then when I do the second one, it's going to be over here. You do your best, and sometimes it comes out perfect. Well, at least you feel like it did. And then there's other times when you feel like, well, I wish it came out a little better than that, but that's gonna work. Okay, after hours and hours and hours of putting the stripes on, I finally feel like I got them in the right spot, did the double stitching, and then, ta-da! Can't believe I'm finally done with the stripes. And I was about to give up. When I had to pick all that stitching out, I was thinking I was just going to buy her a new flag because I had just took all the stripes off and I didn't know how I was going to put them back on because it was taking me forever. But now I've got these all sewn on. I'm going to take them to the ironing board, press them, and double stitch these, and I should be finished. So I'll have this to do, and then I'll have to figure out what I'm going to do with the end, because the end was really frayed, so I have to decide how long this is going to be now. But it's getting very close to finished now. So I first started assessing this, thought I was gonna square it up and make it perfectly, got my ruler out, and I did not want to go that route. It's going to be whipping in the wind. I'm not sure that it's at regulation size anyways, so I just cut it where I felt was the best place to cut all the edges off, and then serged it, and this is what it looked like. I was very proud. There was a couple of spots where I couldn't do anything but just sew over them. I didn't want to use new fabric on the red and make it look obviously different. For the edges, I just sewed about 6 or 8 rows of stitching to finish the edge. There's a lot of static using this fabric, but I'm going to put some nice soft music on and just let you see what I did. And again, I'm working in my basement, so don't mind all the stuff.